So we wrote a book recently, You and Me Forever, and I know there are already a million marriage books out there. But I guess I'd been convicted about something for a long time, and that was when I would read this book, the Bible, and I would read everything that Jesus said about marriage and family. I mean, imagine if you just took every verse where Jesus mentioned marriage or father, mother, wife, kids, and you just wrote down what Jesus said. I think it'd be a far cry from a lot of the things that we say about marriage or emphasize regarding marriage. That in no way is he saying, I don't want you to enjoy your marriage or this or that or whatever else, but what's the focus of those passages? And it's this idea that in light of eternity changes everything. The fact that there is a hell, that changes everything. The fact that one day, any second, our lives are going to be over, this could be my last day on earth, that changes everything. Because I'm going to stand before a holy God, and I'm not judged just on how happy were you two. I don't see that in Scripture. I see passages like in 1 Corinthians 7, how Paul says in verse 29, this is what I mean, brothers, the appointed time has grown very short. From now on, let those who have wives live as though they had none. And those who mourn as though they were not mourning, those who rejoice as though they were not rejoicing, those who buy as though they had no goods, and those who deal with the world as though they had no dealings with it. For the present form of this world is passing away. Then later on in verse 35, he says, I say this for your own benefit, not to lay any restraint upon you, but to promote good order and to secure your undivided devotion to the Lord. Okay, those are heavy words. I'm like, how come marriage books don't contain that? How come we don't include verses like those who have wives should live as though they had none? You know, we just don't give. What I'm saying is, the thing you'll see is if you read this book over and over and over again, you'll see that we tend to emphasize certain passages and ignore a lot of them. I mean, really, if you look at this book, I mean, it's over 50% judgment, right? You start reading through the Old Testament and you're like, man, I mean, even in the Old Testament, you know how they would split up Israel and they put half of Israel on Mount Ebal, half on Mount Gerizim. Why? It's like, okay, you and Ebal, I want you to pronounce a judgment, then you pronounce a blessing. You pronounce a judgment, then you pronounce a blessing, right? Every prophet was to warn about judgment and then also the promises of following. Those were the two things they would all do. And then Jesus comes to the Sermon on the Mount. He goes, blessed are those. And then he goes, woe to those. And then you get to the book of Revelation. And it talks about the blessing of knowing. But that's such a small part. And then the rest of it's the wrath, the judgment. And it just seems like if it's half and half, why are 99% of the messages just about the promises? And why are so many of the sermons about marriage really just about a couple of verses? And a lot of times those are even taken out of context. I mean, Ephesians 5 really is about Christ and the church. And I guess a lot of it was when I'd look at our marriage and I go, man, it's been 22 years, 7 kids, and honestly, we don't fight a lot. And our marriage is awesome, and our kids are awesome, and the family's just great. And it was kind of going, why is it so good? We don't even do all the love languages and stuff. Like, why is it that I'm so in love with the kids, and they're so in love with me, and our family's good, and we don't work at it that much? And we realize, you know what? It's because from day one, we've looked at these passages like 1 Corinthians 7 and said, you know what? There's something bigger than us, bigger than you and me. It's more important than us having a happy marriage is that we have to make as many disciples as we can while we're on this earth. Like there's a purpose, there's a goal to our lives. And what we found is as you pursue God's mission together, which Paul says, man, that's the goal, is to secure undivided devotion to the Lord. And that whole 1 Corinthians 7 is about this mission that we're on. That's why